Hi. Okay. So I made this video yesterday, but I need to give you a heads up. I've been watching a lot of Leon Lush, and he always talks about color correcting in videos. And I'm like, okay. So, and he makes fun of videos that have like bad color. So I'm like, I'll do color correcting on my video. I shouldn't have done that. I look like a sickly vampire in the video. I look ill and vampire. Anyway, I hope it's not too distracting. I didn't know how to undo it. I tried to do color. I'm never going to try color correcting again. And yes, I did a very bad job. Okay, I hope you enjoy the video. Have a good day. So Shelley Duvall did an interview recently, like on the 11th, where she spoke about the 2016 interview with Dr. Phil. I don't know if you know about the 2016 interview with Dr. Phil. I think it's now taken off the internet. You can watch clips of it. Like I watched a 3-minute clip, and then like I watched a 4-minute clip of a different part of it. I wasn't able to consecutively watch the whole thing, but there's enough on the internet that you can piece it together. But like the Dr. Phil show has taken it off. They were widely criticized and said that they exploited Shelley Duvall. In that interview, they also said like the point of it was to help Shelley, but they didn't ever like help her. So in this video, what I want to do is give a foundation, talk about the Dr. Phil interview, and then we'll go look at the interview Shelley did with, I believe it was the Hollywood Reporter. Yes, the interview she did with the Hollywood Reporter. And yeah, okay. And this is the other thing. I will do like titles or tags, I'm not sure what it's called, where you can skip through the video. So if you already know the Dr. Phil background, you don't have to, suffer through that part of the video. And you can just click forward. I'm probably explaining stuff everybody already knows, so let's get into it. The episode originally aired November 18th, 2016, and Dr. Phil said the purpose of the interview was to try to help Shelley and connect her to different treatment services. So before the episode ever aired, it already was sparking problems. The promo they put out, they just, put clips of, okay, so if you don't know, in the interview, Shelley does not seem mentally well. She seems very unstable, and she says things that just don't make sense. She seems to be living in her own reality. So in the promo that the Dr. Phil show put out, like saying, hey, this episode's coming up, they, of course, picked the most wild things she was saying to try to intrigue people to get them to watch the episode. Like you would kind of do that with any TV show. But in this case, this is like somebody who you're saying you're trying to help. So it just doesn't come off like you're trying to help them to treat it in that manner. It came off as disrespectful, and a lot of people spoke out before it ever aired just about the promo. This article came out on November 18th, 2016. That's the same day that the Shelley Duvall interview came out on Dr. Phil. When you come down here, right here, Dr. Phil accused of exploiting the shining star's mental illness. He's been criticized following the release of a promo video for an upcoming episode featuring Shelley Duvall. This video is provided by Newsy, News Look.
From red carpet to near recluse.
The Dr. Phil show is being accused of exploiting mental illness thanks to a recent episode promo. The episode, which airs Friday, features Shelley Duvall, who starred alongside Jack Nicholson in cult horror movie The Shining.
I just want to go back to my room.
And Robin Williams in Popeye.
I loved Robin Williams. I don't think he's dead.
Where do you think he is?
Shape-shifting. Do you see him?
Have, yes. Very sick. I need help.
Well, that's why I'm here.
The video has outraged some, including The Shining director Stanley Kubrick's daughter, who called it purely a form of lurid and exploitive entertainment. Fans and other entertainers, including Mia Farrow and Patton Oswalt, have expressed support for Duvall while accusing the Dr. Phil show of exploiting her.
So Vivian Kubrick, who is Stanley Kubrick's daughter, she spoke out about this promo like before the show aired. This is on the 16th, 2 days before the show aired. And she says, "A letter to you, Dr. Phil. Your exploitative use of Shelley Duvall is a form of lurid entertainment and is shameful." And then she has a letter here. "You are putting Shelley Duvall on show while she is suffering from a pitiable state of ill health. Unquestionably, this is purely a form of lurid and exploitive entertainment. It's appallingly cruel. Shelley Duvall was a movie star. Whatever dignity a mere unfortunate creature might have in this world is denied her by your displaying her in this way. I recoil in complete disgust. I hope others will join me in boycotting your utterly heartless form of entertainment because it has nothing to do with compassionate healing. Sincerely, disgusted, Vivian Kubrick." Oh, kind of a lot of drama. I don't know if drama is the right word, but like a lot of stuff happened around Vivian. I like to keep it in chronological order on the timeline so we're not quite there, but remember her and we're going to come back to her. Okay, moving on to the actual interview. I do not know how much I can actually show you. You can find the promo on YouTube pretty easily, the Dr. Phil promo, but when it comes to actual clips from the interview, I think that they are getting taken down. So right off the bat, it's pretty apparent that Shelley is not fully okay. And I'm not saying that coming from a place of like making fun of her. It's just, she does not seem to be living in the same reality that everyone else was. She was in her own world. I found like a 3-minute clip of the interview. If you would like to see it, it's right here on Vimeo. Edward Therese, I don't know how to say it, but Dr. Phil, 3 minutes of Shelley Duvall. I'm just afraid if I show this in my video, then it's going to take the whole video down. So Dr. Phil asked Shelley how she's feeling health-wise, and Shelley says, this is a quote, "She needed to get the Bermuda Triangle off me because I don't want a hairy chest." So like right off the bat, like you can see she's not doing well, you know, mentally. So if your best interest is Shelley Duvall, at that point it might be like, oh, they're not really in a mental state for this. Probably when she said that, they were like, great, we're getting gold here. This is gonna make great TV. You know, that's, I mean, that's what the show is. Okay. Dr. Phil asks her again after she responds, okay, what about your physical health, like your heart and lungs? How's that doing? And Shelley gives another bizarre response. The whole interview, Shelley's not making sense. She's like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. If I say I'm healthy, the first thing they'll do is hurt me tonight. And so then Dr. Phil's like, who's going to hurt you? And she says, whoever is in security or at the bank doing night work. And then she holds up a pen and says, who's doing off-duty police work in black and white? And then Dr. Phil's like, yeah. And then Shelley says, taxi? Like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. She says they've hurt her spine with a hornet. And then she goes, I'm not calling Bette Midler a whore. And I'm not calling the group Chicago a whore. I'm just saying there's this insect. And again, doesn't make sense, but you're kind of getting the gist of what I'm saying. The whole interview is like that. And I did find this on YouTube, so I think I can share this, where Dr. Phil explains that concept. Here, let me pull it up. So this one was somebody filming their TV. Here he is explaining the concept.
Don't have any logical reason to be grouped together. Clang associations may be present in patients that have a difficult time regulating thought. Now, here are some examples where Shelley did this. For example, I lived in 12445, my home address. A 45 is a type of pistol. I mean, just no ability to keep from going from one thought to another. Here, it was silver and white, but I think it was a silver lid. Now that I think about it, chrome.
Mama, don't take my Kodachrome away.
She just jumps from one thing to another and can't stop at all. I'm a girl. I'm not Shelley Berman, nor am I Shelley Hack or Shelley what's-her-name Winters. So she gets started on Shelley, and it just runs to some others. So it's just an inability of her to stop. Once she hits on a word, it triggers up another word and another word, even though they're totally unrelated. Do you think people believe you when you tell people these things?
The people that are here believe me.
And do you think this is happening to other people
I think
too?
you do.
Do you think it's
It's
happening
happening
to
all
other
over
people?
yes, I think it's happening. It's already happened all over. It's the way it's been. Do you watch Jodie Foster movies? They did that whole series on me.
Do you think that,
Girl stuck down in the well.
so you think this is happening to
That's
other people
her.
too? You think this is happening to other people too?
That's how they scared me. The blonde lady.
That's who?
The blonde lady at one point.
Sarah?
Yeah.
What about her?
That's Daniel Allen Gilroy's sister. Also, Judy King, a friend of mine who died. All blonde, like she was. King, Judy King.
So you think that's who that
In
is?
Houston. Definitely. What do you think I don't recognize? And also my cousin Paula, my first cousin.
Well, she called me and said that she wanted me to help you. Can I talk about you for a minute?
Hi, Lily. That's Lily Taylor. Lily Tomlin's line, or it might be Lily Taylor by now, for all I know.
Could I be
can't
selfish and
imagine.
talk about you for a minute? While speaking to Shelley, it was quite clear that she's very intelligent and very verbal. It was also apparent that she had a vivid imagination. Now, you've heard just a fraction of the over 63 people she mentioned in our interview. When I spoke to her, she mentioned Father Goose, Elephant Man,
The Sheriff of
Jack
Nottingham.
IRS lady, the Sheriff of Nottingham, Teddy R. Bear, John Hurt. It just went on and on. As you can well imagine, it was quite busy inside her head.
Coming up.
They put a football bag on the back of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know what they call it. It's like two bags on either side of the spinal cord. I never had this. Oh, and look what they've done to my hair.
And later.
That's really out to help her.
Then I can get back
Right.
on my feet again.
Dr.
Leave
Phil
me alone.
sucks.
I don't want to be murdered.
Closed captioning provided by
Exploitation at its
Why do
finest.
you style up with Daisy?
So Dr. Phil says the point of the episode was to get Shelley help. So after the, most of the interview, then he tries to convince her to get medical help. And I have another clip, and this one is from YouTube, so I think I should be able to show it if it's on YouTube.
My doctor than your doctor.
Well, but I've got some really good doctors.
You do?
I do.
Yeah? Can they fix this?
They can.
That's where a woman took a long Q-tip. She took this Q-tip and she dipped it in there. It was silver or white, but I think it was silver lid. Now that I think of it, chrome. Mama, don't take my Kodachrome away because I'm at the lid of my baby. Paul Simon, P.S. I love you. David Mamet. Are you a policeman?
No, ma'am.
Investigator?
No, ma'am.
Well, what do you do?
I'm a doctor.
With his own TV show.
You're very sweet to talk to me now.
I'm not diabetic.
Let me tell you something that's important. Okay, will you listen to me? I want to have you checked out by some really good doctors
I would like that.
for free. I'll pay for
If you
it.
promise me that they won't murder me,
I promise you.
because I don't want to be strangled or suffocated with a pillow.
Shelley, I
and 2
promise you
pillows.
they're not going to murder you. I promise you they're not going to smother you or strangle you. They're going to help you feel better. I want to get you some real doctors to really help you to check out your body, make sure everything is okay, get them to stop hurting you, get you some real rest, and get you to feeling better. And I'm
The man who threatened me,
going to get rid of him.
is the sheriff of Nottingham.
Okay, we're going to get rid of the
Did you
sheriff.
see the movie?
I
The
have.
old one, the black and white?
We're going to get rid of him. He's going away. So you trust that when I tell you that nobody's going to murder you, you trust that I'm telling you the truth. Okay?
Okay, so the Dr. Phil show didn't actually end up helping Shelley. So she lived in Texas and they got her help at a treatment facility in California. So what happened is she ended up going there but didn't stay there. So I found this article. Well, there's lots of articles, but I found this one article.
After 3 days at the treatment center, Shelley still refused to take any medication, and she would not sign the paperwork required to treat her, said host Dr. Phil. She was accompanied by trained professionals and was safely returned to her family and boyfriend at home, Dr. Phil said. We are happy to report we are now working directly with Shelley's mother and are providing Shelley treatment from a group of local professionals who, due to her refusal to take medication, will use alternative methods to treat her. They never say what those alternative methods are, just by the way. This part I actually thought was a little bit interesting. It says, then McGraw, that's Dr. Phil's last name, then McGraw gave special thanks to the doctors and facility that are not treating Duvall. As flashed on the screen, the words, promotional consideration provided by, followed by the name of that clinic. They didn't share the name. Obviously, you can see that. They said they'd keep us updated on her progress and hope there's a happy ending to this story. Yeah, I never heard anything else from the Dr. Phil show regarding her. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I looked. It's not like I'm just saying I haven't heard about it. I went and looked. Like, they say they're going to let us know. They never let us know. Vanity Fair put an article out the day after the interview aired. Here it is. And we'll get to the GoFundMe part mentioned here. I'm just not quite there yet. That's when Vivian Kubrick comes back in. But I want to show this thing Al Roker said, because actually I think Al Roker made a really great point. These are his tweets. How about first treating Shelley Duvall away from your cameras, and if successful, presenting before and after? But that was shameful. And really, though, that would be the way to do it in a respectful way. Like, sure, do that interview with her, but don't air it until after she gets the help. Once she gets the help, maybe say, like, look, when she came to us, she wasn't speaking in a way that made sense. And maybe at that point they could show a couple clips just to give, like, kind of the gist. And then can come back to, you know, the treatment we did and all da-da-da-da-da-da. You know? And he made a second tweet. Oop. Oh, I clicked on it. Okay. He made a second tweet. After this shameful exploitation of Shelley Duvall, and he adds it at Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil needs to explain why he would do this. Shame on Phil. And, you know, I don't think many people would disagree with this.
So after the Shelley Duvall episode aired, different people came forward like, hey, Dr. Phil exploited her. I'm going to help her. And this happened with Vivian Kubrick, who I keep saying, I don't know why I keep like teasing her name. I don't know why I'm doing that. That's very weird. I'm sorry. But the Actors Fund of America also came forward. Keith McNutt, he's the director of the Western region. I'm going to get his picture up for you.
So he came forward and said, we're going to help Shelley. Let me find his picture. Here he is. Keith McNutt. This man came forward. They're all blurry. Maybe it's my internet. There we go. Keith McNutt. Now, what he said is the organization's strict confidentiality rules prohibit discussing clients. But since Duvall is not a client yet, the fund can say it is reaching out to the Dr. Phil show to put them in contact with her. So the Actors Fund, they say they're ready to provide a much wider range of help, from social services to direct financial assistance. And then McNutt says, we often reach out to people when we hear in the press that they've fallen on hard times, and we'd be happy to help her in any way that we can. And then that was pretty much it. You hear, like Dr. Phil saying, we're going to help her, then you don't hear anything. You hear the Actors Fund of America, we're going to help her, then you don't hear anything. And I'm sure a lot of that does have to do with Shelley and her family. You know, I think that's kind of wild, actually. You really shouldn't say publicly you're going to be helping someone unless you got that person you're helping on board. Because I'm guessing that's what happened. I don't know. I'm speculating right now. That they said, we're going to help her, and then maybe she didn't want the help. Maybe they couldn't connect with her. I don't really know. But that's it for them. Now, moving on to Vivian Kubrick. On that very same day that the show aired, she started a GoFundMe in the name of Shelley Duvall and said their goal was to raise $100,000. Now, Vivian Kubrick, daughter of Stanley Kubrick, has started a GoFundMe to raise money so the actress can get real help. So kind of like the Actors Fund said. Like many older movie stars, the fundraising page reads, embarrassed finances is not uncommon. Showing your love and support for Shelley Duvall by making a donation can start her back on the road to independence and perhaps back to health and for her fans more superb performances. Now, when you go to the GoFundMe page, it's gone. You know, it's gone now. I did check the Wayback Machine, it's not on there either.
Anyway, one of the reasons that sparked a lot of concern is Vivian Kubrick is a Scientologist. Now, I don't know what you know about Scientology, but they have very particular opinions about psychiatry and any sort of mental health issues. So, yes, Vivian Kubrick is Stanley Kubrick's daughter. I believe they were, well, he's not alive. I was going to say I believe they were estranged, maybe before he passed away. So Vivian did not know Shelley personally. Her father did, but Vivian didn't. But people did find it a little bit odd, like you're going to raise money on behalf of somebody else who you don't know and they're assuming did not ask you to do this. And then also back to the Scientology. People just thought it was interesting just because of how strongly the Church of Scientology has spoken out about psychiatric care.
For example, let me find something. Right here. The Church of Scientology operates a subsidiary whose sole aim is to discredit and dismantle the field of psychiatry. It is called Citizens Commission on Human Rights International. So this, if you ever see this is Church of Scientology. The group incessantly employs classic propaganda techniques like trumpeting each instant of an errant psychiatrist as emblematic of the entire field. Generalizing. Oh, here. Let's look at it from the Church of Scientology so we're getting a direct source also. Because we got to be fair. Here it is. Get the facts, fight back. Yes, it's like they said. They find these horror stories and use them right here. Protect yourself. The truth about psychiatry. They have all these different things you can read, documentaries. I wonder if these are all made by the Church of Scientology. When you put this on it, it definitely makes it look like, oh, it won an award. But I wonder if they're just awards that the church has like awarded to themselves. Here, let's see the About Us before we move on. Okay, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights is a nonprofit mental health watchdog responsible for helping to enact more than 180 laws protecting individuals from abusive or coercive practices. It was founded by the Church of Scientology. Psychiatric disorders are not medical diseases. There are no lab tests, brain scans, x-rays, or chemical imbalance tests that can verify any mental disorder in a physical condition. I actually don't think that's true. I would love to see a source for that. I don't think that's true. But psychiatry has repackaged these emotions and behaviors as disease in order to sell drugs. This is a brilliant marketing campaign, but it is not science. Neither is Scientology, so,
So then another reason people grew even more suspicious of Vivian's GoFundMe was when people just asked questions, they were getting blocked. Like, people would ask, what's the money going for? How is this money going to help Shelley? And what are your motives? And I guess on the what are your motives one, I could see how maybe you might like take that question down if someone was asking in like a really rude or speculative way and not being respectful. Then like maybe you might just be like, yeah, that person has ulterior motives. Let me take this down. But saying, what is this going to? And I don't actually think saying what is your motive is a bad question. I just could see how some person might phrase it in a wrong way. Or excuse me, in a bad way. And yeah, I don't really I don't have anything else to say about that.
It says right here, Vivian was policing the GoFundMe page vigilantly since its Friday launch, blocking anyone who simply asked if the money could possibly go to legitimate psychiatric health care, considering the Scientology background. That raised a red flag. I don't think Vivian even knew Shelley. It seems rather opportunistic to raise money for this very sick, if not psychotic woman out of the spiritual mecca Clearwater. Oh yeah, that was another thing. Clearwater is the HQ for Scientology. It's a city in Florida. That city was put as the location on the GoFundMe. I have not seen the GoFundMe because it's not up anymore. But enough articles have said that it seems to be a fact. I knew there was no chance there would be any money earmarked for mental health. It's doctrine. The motives are disingenuous at best. So Vivian spoke out. She did this GoFundMe, but it really seemed to backfire. And if she wasn't answering these questions, that does not look good. Saying, what is this money going to? And you're not going to answer it, bad luck.
Can you take a guess at what happened next? Yeah, only within a few days it was taken down. Now, what Vivian says the reason for taking down, it's not really what I think the public believes the reason for it was taken down.
So this is November 22nd, 2016, just a few days after it was put up. Shelley Duvall's family is, well, that's what it should say, unable to accept large donations for the present, as it would affect SD's Gov and possible SAG-AFTRA benefits. Now, SAG, I believe that's the Screen Actors Guild, and then government money. So let's see what it says. My apologies to everyone who donated to the GoFundMe account. I set up for Shelley, but I spoke today with Shelley's mother, Bobby. She explained that after her discussions with SAG, I'm not going to say that again, I butchered it, and the fact that Shelley is on government benefits, they can't afford to accept any large donations at this time. Understandably, the family has to consider Shelley's long-term financial support. A large amount of money, even if it was put in trust, would affect Shelley's government benefits. And I'm getting distracted by the spelling of benefits, sorry. Would affect Shelley's government benefits and the benefits that are available to her from SAG-AFTRA. For those of you who donated, GoFundMe is presently refunding all of your donations. Remember, your loving emails and kind messages will still go to Shelley, which I'm sure will make her very happy indeed. I take my hat off to the gracious and loving Shelley Duvall fans. You're just a very humane group of caring folk. I was blown away. Vivian Kubrick.
The Hollywood Reporter, when she took it down, they immediately talked to what's it say? They immediately reached out to several Hollywood labor experts and asked. All of them agreed that Shelley's, I don't know how to say that last part, SAG-AFTRA benefits would be completely unaffected by the GoFundMe campaign. They didn't speak about the government benefits, but they're saying, we can debunk that part, so we can tell you for a fact that part is not true. And then it's well, if she's not telling the truth there, how can we really trust anything else she says, So the episode airs. The Dr. Phil show is not able to help Shelley. The Actors Fund of America, I don't even know what happened with that, but it doesn't sound like they ended up helping Shelley. And then Vivian Kubrick is not able to help Shelley. If I were Shelley, that would be very overwhelming. And then we didn't really hear from Shelley until now. My coffee's done. Just a second. So let's finally get on to the interview that Shelley gave talking about the Dr. Phil interview. Well, she talks about other stuff too, but that's part of it.
Here it is. Hollywood Reporter, searching for Shelley Duvall, the reclusive icon, on fleeing Hollywood and the scars of making The Shining. February 11th, 2021. Seth Abramovich. I'm very curious what Seth looks like. He looks nice. For some reason in my mind, I had a different picture. I thought he was going to look like a Vice reporter, younger, hipster type guy, when I heard the name. He just seems more nice. He has a nice face. That's what it is. I'm not saying, I don't know the guy. I don't know. I'm just saying he has I like round faces, I think. They just seem like nice people. Oh, he knows Zach Galifianakis. Okay, let's get to it. First of all, this picture is great. I think it's very flattering. I think it just looks nice. That's all. The first thing, it says that she drives up in a Toyota 4Runner. So she's driving. Either that's a good thing or a concerning thing. A good thing wow, she's doing better, she can drive. Or a concerning thing should she be driving? I don't know. I'm not at all. I like Shelley. I'm not trying to insult her. It's just, that's the first thing that came to my mind. It said her favorite place to sit is in the driver's seat. It's also the only place to sit. The rest of the car is filled from floor to roof with a crush of acquisitions, including a bucket of plastic silverware, a jar of green giant sliced mushrooms, and a bouquet of silk roses. She's 71 now. She shares her home with Dan Gilroy, who was a member of the early Madonna band Breakfast Club. He has been with Shelley since 1989. And that's kind of sweet. They fell in love while co-starring on the Disney Channel movie Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme. Wait, what's his name? Dan Gilroy. Right here. Yeah, him. There he is. And he's been with her all this time. I thought this was good to hear. So Shelley was raving about these cherry scones at the cafe next door, and the waitress skips down the steps with one in a hand and passes it to her through the car window. And Shelley takes a bite. She's like, heaven. But then the waitress takes Seth, that's the guy who's writing the article, aside, and she says, I'm not sure who you are, but out here amongst these rural hill country communities, we look out for each other and we take care of each other. Does that make sense? Like, it's reassuring to hear that Shelley has people like that around her. Then the article goes on to talk about Lee Unkrich. And if you didn't know, he's the director of Toy Story 3. And if you didn't know, he is a huge fan of The Shining. And that might even be an understatement, calling him a huge fan. Like, he is a super fan. There are actually multiple Easter eggs from The Shining in Toy Story 3. I don't know if you knew that, but Google it. You'll see lots. And if you go to his Twitter, this is from back in 2016, but he's like, I run, and see, look at his mask. That's The Shining carpet. I run a website devoted to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Everyone should have at least one obsession. Yeah, obsession. He's obsessed. This is mine. It's called the Overlook Hotel. That's the hotel in The Shining. And he runs this. Yeah. Wow, those are cool. I really like this one. Getting sidetracked. Anyway, prior to when Dr. Phil aired that episode in 2016, he had already been searching for Shelley Duvall. He'd already been searching for her for years. Then that episode comes out. And he's like, unfortunately, on Dr. Phil, the world saw what it's like to have untreated mental illness. And for anyone who's lived around someone like that, you know how true that is. Like, that is not just who they are. There is so much more. They are a person, and there is so much more to them. It's the enduring stigma around it, he adds. That's what helped make Shelley mostly forgotten by Hollywood. So finally, 2 years ago, he located Shelley, and he made the pilgrimage to her. And he had this Kubrick archive of Shining photos, a trove of Shining photos. And he was really curious to see how she'd react and the stories that it might draw out of her. And he was pleased to find that Duvall on Dr. Phil was one part of a bigger picture. And you know, that's just so true. That is not just who they are. That was a snapshot. That could have just been a bad day. We don't know. That's the point. We don't know. And like, the more I think about it, Dr. Phil show really did do her dirty. Emotions. Okay. Yes, she could be gripped by anxiety attacks or meander into unsettling descriptions of alien surveillance programs. But she could also converse for long, coherent stretches and conjure up the slightest details about her life and of her career, of which she remains very proud. Coherent being the key word. So then it goes back to Seth, the person writing this. They made that pilgrimage out to meet Duvall on a warm January morning in 2021, unsure of what he was going to find when he got there. He says her mood ebbed and flowed throughout the day. Like Unkrich, I found her memory to be sharp and her stories engrossing. Look at those shoes. Wow. Okay, so next the article, it talks about Shelley's life. You know, it talks about when she was born, when she went to high school. I'm not going to get into all of this. I mean, read the article. It's a great read. I'm just, I think, you know, that's at least half the article, if not a little bit more. It's just talking about Shelley's life. There she is with Andy Warhol. It's weird because in my mind, I maybe wouldn't even have been surprised if it's like, oh, they're the same age. But no, he's clearly much older than her. And there she is with her, I think that's her ex, was it her boyfriend or her husband? No, her boyfriend. Paul Simon. Jeff Bridges. Okay, now we're getting into the part where she talks about her experience with Kubrick. This, I think I will read a little bit about. So, if you haven't seen The Shining, most of the time Shelley Duvall is in distress. So every day she's acting, and Stanley Kubrick is known for doing take after take after take. So it's just all day long of you needing to act depressed, and after a while that takes a toll on somebody. Duvall says Kubrick doesn't print anything until at least the 35th take. 35 takes, running and crying and carrying a little boy, it gets hard. And full performance from the first rehearsal. That's difficult. Before a scene, she would put on a Sony Walkman and listen to sad songs. Or you just think about something very sad in your life and how much you miss your family or friends. But after a while, your body rebels. It says, stop doing this to me. I don't want to cry every day. And sometimes just that thought alone would make me cry. To wake up on a Monday morning so early and realize that you had to cry all day because it was scheduled, I would just start crying. I'd be like, oh no, I can't. And yet I did it. I don't know how I did it. Jack said that to me too. He said, I don't know how you do it. So then they asked her, did she feel like Kubrick had been unusually cruel or abusive to her in order to elicit her performance? She replied, he's got that streak in him. He definitely has that. But I think mostly because people have been that way to him at some time in his past. His first two films were Killer's Kiss and The Killing. Then he pressed her on what she meant by that, and she said that he was very warm and friendly to her. He spent a lot of time with Jack and me. He just wanted to sit down and talk for hours while the crew waited. And the crew would say, Stanley, we have about 60 people waiting. But it was very important work. Wait, is she saying Jack? Is that the name of, Jack Nicholson, yeah. I know that's his name. I just think of his name as Jack Nicholson, not as Jack. Like, that's actually weird. If someone was just like Jack, yeah, it's like a full sentence. Like, Jack Nicholson is his name. So her saying Jack, was not... Okay. This paragraph is just kind of negating what she said. Like, yeah, she said that, but da-da-da-da-da. Then he plays a clip from The Shining for Shelley upon Shelley's request, and it makes Shelley cry. So they were talking about the Guinness World Record. So there's a scene in The Shining where it had the most retakes for one scene with dialogue. They did it 148 times. But there was a far more demanding scene, the one on the staircase. That did 127 takes. And then Seth says, oh, that sounds like a difficult scene, but it turned out to be... Then Shelley says, it was a difficult scene, but it turned out to be one of the best scenes in the film. I'd like to watch the movie again. I haven't seen it in a long time. So then that's when they pull up the scene. And he says, I don't think I'll ever forget the experience of watching 71-year-old Duvall, watching her 30-year-old self meekly swing a bat at Nicholson as he threatened to bash her brains in. And then he asked Shelley, why are you crying? And she said, because we filmed that for about 3 weeks. Every day, it was very hard. Jack was so good. So damn scary. I can only imagine how many women go through this kind of thing. These pictures are much more flattering than the Dr. Phil show showed her. Oh, this part has a sweet backstory. I'll come back. I'll show you the picture when I talk about this part. We're finally to the Dr. Phil part. And it's 2 paragraphs. That's all there is. So I think I'll just read them. Okay. For the next 2 decades, she fell completely off the map. That is until 2016, when she was contacted by a Dr. Phil producer. So they contacted her. She grows visibly distressed at the mention of McGraw's name. I found out the kind of person he is the hard way, Duvall says. My mother didn't like him either. A lot of people, like Dan said, you shouldn't have done that, Shelley. She had submitted the interview without Gilroy's knowledge. After the broadcast and ensuing backlash, McGraw made repeated attempts at contacting Duvall. He started calling my mother. She told him, don't call my daughter anymore. But he started calling my mother all the time, trying to get her to let me talk to him again. A spokesperson for the Dr. Phil show replies, we view every Dr. Phil episode, including Miss Duvall and her struggle with mental illness, as an opportunity to share relatable, useful information and perspective with our audiences. We don't attach the stigma associated with mental illness, which many do. With no one else offering help, our goal was to document the struggle and bring amazing resources to change her trajectory, as we have for so many over 19 years. Unfortunately, she declined our initial offer for inpatient treatment that would have included full physical and mental evaluations, giving her a chance to privately manage her challenges. Nothing about that was private. And maybe they mean like in the future it would have been private. After many months of follow-up in collaboration with her mother, she ultimately refused assistance. We were, of course, very disappointed, but those offers for help remain open today. And that's all they had to say about Dr. Phil. Now, the interview ends, and it actually ends on a good note, just to know that Shelley has good people around her. So there was this guy, is this guy named Ryan Obermeyer. He's an artist from Austin, and he grew up with fairy tale theater, and he was concerned for Shelley's welfare. He says, I brought a postcard of one of my paintings with my phone number on it and left it with Dan. She called me 10 minutes later saying she'd love a visit. That led to regular lunches and an unlikely friendship. Then he went on to say how Shelley had all these sort of memorabilia from everything she was in, but she lost it all, and he's not sure how, but he thinks it was from her storage unit not getting paid, and then they put it all up for auction. So he's gone out and tried to buy back some of those items to give to her, which that's really sweet to hear. For example, he found some of Shelley's personal letters on eBay and brought them back for her. He also tried to connect Shelley to old friends, and like in 2019, he facilitated a surprise FaceTime call with Paul Rubens, and that was for her 70th birthday. Also, to commemorate her 70th birthday, he threw a party for her at her favorite restaurant, which is Red Lobster, and he invited a handful of only like her most diehard fans to come, and one of them even flew from Australia for her party, and that's what that picture is from up here. And look how cool this cake is. This is cool. Like, it's nice to hear that she has some people around her that are, it doesn't sound like he's taking advantage of her. The very last paragraph ends with, at one point during our time together, Duvall shares a childhood memory of Houston's one and only snow day. And I thought that was just kind of ironic considering what's going on in Texas right now, with the snow. And yeah, that was the story. Here it is. It's from The Hollywood Reporter. If you want to go, read it for yourself, because I didn't read you the whole thing. Okay. I guess that's everything. Bye.